Yeah.
How much pressure is on Kirby Smart to win against Alabama in 2024? Matt DeBerry, we'll start with you.
There's got to be some pressure, right? I know he's beat Nick Saban and Alabama on the biggest stage for that national title, but I think he's 1-5, Dean, and
Yeah.
coming off this one, I think it rubbed the Georgia fans the wrong way. We thought Georgia was going to go in and win this game. They didn't, especially in Atlanta. It'd be nice to see Kirby and the Dogs beat the Tide in Atlanta in their own backyard. There's definitely some pressure. I know the monkey's off his back. I don't know if the monkey can climb back on, but you can't just be that one win over Alabama. There's definitely some pressure, Ryan, for him to beat Alabama again, and they're going to have to if they want to win another national championship.
Well, they might not have to. Just the way it might play out. But the next time they play, it's going to be in Tuscaloosa, which is going to be pretty hard. I'd argue there's a lot of pressure, man. I mean, just being 1-5, that's like they've done everything. They've done pretty much everything you can think of in the college football world. Georgia's accomplished it under Kirby Smart, and if this is one of the two or three things that's just not happening for Georgia, it's Alabama, it's Georgia. I mean, they're going toe to toe with them. They're just not finishing, except for the one time. And how much does it matter in the grand scheme of things if Georgia continues to contend for national championships? Not that much. But for Kirby, I think it does matter.
It matters at least a little bit. I mean, I think he's got to be getting annoyed with the lack of clothes on this whole thing. I mean, I know Georgia fans are because they feel like they're the same program or better than Alabama. In the last two seasons, they were. But I wouldn't make. I don't know where we are on the pattern of all of this, for the record. I don't know if we're at the beginning of Kirby sort of winning a lot more. I mean, if he wins in Tuscaloosa, that would be two of the last three. I mean, I don't know. I do think there's pressure. There's always going to be pressure to beat Alabama, no matter who is the coach at Georgia. I'm old enough to remember Mark having success against Alabama and even Nick Saban. And then, in '08, that was a bad loss. 12 was a traumatic loss, and then 15 was a really bad loss as well. The Lakeview deep seating sofa from our friends at EcoPoly is a great option for your outdoor. Okay, I've been showing you red and black. You can get this in other colors, completely worry free. Why? 20-year warranty, made of completely recycled plastics in Eastman. In Dodge County, that's the place to get. The link for EcoPoly is down below. I cannot, for some reason, get the screen back to us. There it is now, but take advantage of that, y'all. The link is down below. There's definitely going to be pressure on Kirby. There's definitely going to be. Well, I don't feel it yet, Matt, but it's December. So, let's see what happens. If Bama doesn't win the national championship, it will bring it down. I don't think that matters, actually. I think whatever comes in, Ryan's agreeing with me. I don't think it matters if Bama wins it or not. This is about, can Kirby beat Nick? I mean, and it's going to be this way, y'all, for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, he's won 2 national titles. He's only beaten Nick Saban in Alabama once.
Right.
And I feel that national championship meant so much because it was their first since 1980. But to do it against Alabama made it that much sweeter. And, we talked about, Kirby passing Nick as the current best coach in college football, not all time. But does Nick have it now after he's beat Kirby? I mean, those two can kind of go back and forth. But, at the end of the day, when Kirby's time is over at Georgia, we're going to look back and people are going to remember how many times he beat Alabama. They are the program. If it's not Georgia, number one program in college football, it's Alabama. And it's been Alabama, right? So Georgia fans want it to be Georgia one, big gap, then Alabama. We thought it might be that way going into this season, coming off back-to-back national championships. But the last 2 games they've lost were to Alabama. So they're the only program that can beat Georgia right now. And so, yeah, there is some pressure of not letting that trend continue. And Georgia fans want to see it fight back. They want to be, Alabama, Georgia, and maybe kind of take off and beat them consecutively at some point down the road, right? But the pressure is going to be there. And right now, it feels like Alabama is the only team in Georgia's way of doing something really special over the next, several years. Maybe Georgia can still do that, but it feels like Alabama is still definitely that thorn on their side, Ryan.
All right, hold on, Ryan. Perspective here, just real quick, Ryan. Steve Spurrier played Bobby Bowden 14 times. Spurrier was 5-8-1 against him. He won his national championship, was very well celebrated. Steve is probably the third best coach in SEC history, although, I mean, I have to say Kirby may be at 3 right now, passing Spurrier. But Steve Spurrier had all that success, and he really struggled against the Noles.
I was actually going to ask you for a historical comparison, so
really?
Thank you.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Were you really?
I was, and I'm glad you kept it short. But I just think, especially if Alabama wins this year, this would be arguably Nick Saban's best coaching job.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I don't even know. Maybe not arguably. It just would straight up be his best coaching job. To think about what they were in September, and then to win the SEC championship, to move on, and then you would end up playing a Michigan team, another big time program, big time team, and maybe it would be a rematch against Texas, or maybe it'd be against Washington. That's not as important, but it's hard to say Kirby's won with what's been happening between the two programs, especially when I think most of these games, I think we enter it feeling that Georgia's the better team. That's the big part for me. And Alabama's still winning.
Yeah, I'm going to go right back to you. The last 3, this is what's disturbing, I think, for what should be disturbing for Georgia folks is the last 3 games, Georgia's been the better team. They've only won 1 of them. Now, the other ones, they were not the better team.
Yeah, I don't know that they were the better team. Are you talking about 18?
No. The last 3 times they've played, Georgia's been favored. So that was the SEC championship, national championship,
and then the 2 games in Atlanta. Is it an Atlanta thing? I mean, is it that game? I don't want to place too much on that game in that stadium, but man.
I don't think it's an Atlanta thing, but I think whatever sort of Larry Munson thing you want to cook up, you can. One person I remember very clearly on the side of I was watching Alabama. It was just before Alabama was going to win the SEC in 21. One person who's been at Georgia for a long time. We were just talking with 3 or 4 minutes left. He said, "We just got to get out of this building." And I think that can happen. But Georgia's only losses lately in that building, I think, have been Alabama. I mean, they beat Cincinnati, they beat LSU, they beat Oregon, they beat Ohio State. I mean, that's just off the top of my head. I mean, those are really good wins, Matt. It can't be the building. And they're probably going to beat Clemson. They're probably going to beat Clemson.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, LSU is the only other team that's beaten them in that building, right? And that was one of the best college football teams of all time.
Yes.
So I do think a change of scenery is different, but they will beat Alabama again. I think Kirby Smart will. Could be this fall. It's going to be tough to do it in Tuscaloosa, but he's going to have to do it more than one more time. And I think it gets at him, too. He's got an ego. He wants to beat Nick as much as possible. He doesn't like losing to Alabama.
Did you just say Kirby had an ego?
Little one. But they got to get it right.
Yeah, I think if this game were in Athens, I don't know. No matter where it's played, there's a lot of, you got to get it done. I mean, they played in Atlanta 17-18, 21-23. Is that it? Those 4 times? So they've lost all 4 of those games in Atlanta, correct? Yeah.
Are you talking about just against Bama?
Just against Alabama.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But in 18, they were a significant dog in that game, actually. They should have won that game, but they lost. 17, should they have won that game? Probably. I mean, the problem here is what's happening at the end of these games, what used to be the case. But it doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, will there be pressure to answer the question of the video? There's no question, Ryan, there will be pressure. At the end of the season, will it matter if they've beaten Alabama or not? I think a loss will not matter that much. I think a win just gets you in the playoff. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be able to stumble a couple times and make the playoff, and it could be that they could lose to Texas and Alabama and win the national championship and not have to play either of them again. That's kind of, now we're getting to all sorts of possible scenarios. So they could somehow avoid them in the playoff with them being knocked out or not making it or whatever the deal is. So as far as an overall perspective and just competing and winning national championships, the Alabama specific thing doesn't really matter that much as long as you're winning. But I think it matters for Kirby more than anything else.
Why Kirby?
Because it is a head-to-head thing against your former mentor, and it is a step for him, and that does bring the program on his back too, to be the best and to be elite. I mean, that's what you're trying to do in this whole thing is to just be the best you possibly can and to be better than everyone else. Well, beating the GOAT a couple more times would help that out, and it would help Kirby's legacy too. I mean, we are getting to a point where we're talking about him being one of the best ever. And so this is
Kirby.
Yeah, and in those conversations, the people that make those decisions are going to be looking back on that, and they're going to look back at their record head to head.
Very quickly, Matt, where are we all time with Kirby?
He's top 10 college football coach of all time. I think you might be right at number 3. It's Nick Bear Bryant.
I'm only talking about in the league.
Oh, in the league, he's right there with Steve, and will probably pass Steve. He's past Urban Meyer. I think it's Nick, Bear, then probably Kirby.
I forgot about Urban. But Kirby's done that already. I mean, like, he's won 2.
And he's got a green arrow going up. Like, right. I mean, so.
I don't know. That's probably another discussion for another time. But I think that, that he will have pressure in that game. There's no doubt about it. All right, we got to get ready for Christmas. Make sure you're getting your Christmas list done. Your Christmas list, joining our email list, which is right down below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Merry Christmas.